Hello and welcome to the Autocar show. Now, a while ago, a comparison like this would be something we did once in a while. But these days, everybody seems to be getting into luxury saloons. And of course, entrants like the Volvo S80 with its D3 engine and a cracking price point has really shaken up the mix. In fact, it's really blurred the line between an entry-level luxury saloon and the luxury saloons, making it easier to step into the segment. These are really the base versions of the luxury saloons, and Audi has also plonked a 2-litre engine into its A6, shaking up the whole pot. Well, will the Volvo have everything it needs except for just price point, or will the A6 still reign supreme with its 2-litre engine? We're going to mix up the bag and find out. The S80 is the oldest car here and certainly looks the most conservative. It isn't like the old boxy Volvos and does have an understated elegance about it though. The clearly defined V on the bonnet looks great, and the broad-shouldered stance gives the S80 a presence. While it may not look it, the A6 is actually the longest and widest car here. The Audi's slim pillars and tight skinning help mask its size well. Details like the tightly cut grille, sweeping roof, and elongated taillights work to give the A6 a distinct design. It's a pity though that the brilliantly detailed full LED lamps come at a whopping extra 2.79 lakhs. Speaking of which, the E-Class's quartet of headlamps has a look that has been carried over and adapted from the W210. It means you can identify the car from a mile away. The tip-forward stance, the rising shoulder and window lines make the E look uncharacteristically athletic. You will find all the traditional BMW cues on the latest 5 Series, the kidney grille, the ring lights, the king quarter glass and the L-shaped tail light. It may look like a shrunken 7 Series, but that by no means is a bad thing. On the inside, the S80's cabin is also the most Spartan of the lot and has a very IKEA-like feel to it. The firmness of the dash and the clunky manner in which the glove box closes is quite stark in contrast to the rest of the German brigade, which are soft and elegant. But there are some nice touches too, like the wafer-thin floating console and the buttons directing airflow that are very intuitive to use and quite unique compared to the rest. The Merc has too much of a mishmash of buttons on the central console, but everything has such a built-to-last feel about it that it feels like quality. And this is also true in the BMW. The 5 Series offers up just the right mix of quality and luxury which is suited to its class. But on the whole, it's really the A6's cabin that will get the eyeballs. It looks good, offers up great quality and truly feels like a luxury car. Now all these cars are the value offerings of their lineup, each one having a 2-litre diesel engine, but they're all quite different on the road. Now I thought that the D3 engine would be a little bit too small for the S80, but really it isn't. Feels quite nice to drive, feels pretty refined, feels like it has adequate power. Yeah, it may pale in the face of competition, but on its own, I think it feels quite powerful enough even for the S80. Easy to drive, be it in the city or out on the highway. If at all I have a complaint with it, it's more to do with the gearbox, which I think is a little bit slow. Yep. You're probably wondering why I don't just flip it into manual and drive, but even in manual, the gearbox takes a little while to do what you're asking it to. The Audi, the BMW and the Mercedes are much closer to each other on performance. In fact, they're within half a second of one another up to 100 km per hour. The gap isn't much wider in the 20 to 80 km per hour and 40 to 100 km per hour bracket either. Again, the differences become clear when you drive them back to back. The 181 bhp makes the Beamer the most powerful car here. This BMW engine is punchy, it's torquey, it's great fun to drive. It actually puts a smile across your face because it lets you feel the power. You feel pushed back into your seat every time you accelerate. Its excellent 8-speed gearbox is always up to the job if you choose to drive hard, and downshifts are super quick when you floor the throttle in sport mode. The Audi's gearbox is also impressive, but there is a slight hesitation to downshift when you want instant power. Audi's Drive Select system also allows you to switch between comfort and dynamic settings to alter your engine and gearbox performance to suit your driving style. Now, when you drive the BMW and the Audi back to back, the BMW does feel quicker. That's because its engine is punchy and torquey, but it's really not so. The Audi A6 is extremely quick, except that its acceleration is so linear. It does everything in a refined and relaxed manner. And this engine is a fun engine and really a pleasure to drive. Whilst the BMW feels much quicker, the real difference is just a hair's breadth. The 0 to 100 figures see the Audi come in at 9.05 seconds, just 0.04 seconds slower than the Beamer. The in-gear figures tell you where the Audi loses that edge. The Mercedes does everything without any such electronic gadgetry, but what is impressive is the engine's nice and predictable build of speed. Its 5-speed automatic gearbox may be down on ratios and is not the fastest, but it's in a comfort zone as long as you're not pushing hard. The Mercedes is more for cruising than for enthusiastic driving. What isn't nice is the sharp clatter from the engine that's always audible and breaks the monastery-like silence of the E-Class cabin. In the performance comparison, it really comes down to the BMW and Audi. The Beamer being the one that gives you the thrill, and the Audi that's deceptively quick in a refined manner. The thing is that performance is also about handling. It's one thing to have a quick car, but if you're going to drive it quick, it needs to hug the road well. Here's where the Audi and BMW are pretty close too. The A6 just feels so well put together, feels so solid, so well built, and somehow it feels so compact to drive. It just doesn't feel a car of its size when you're driving it, wraps itself around you. The BMWs are legendary for the way they drive, and the 520 doesn't disappoint. But it feels quite big on the road, and the inconsistent steering is what lets it down. It's not a happy feeling when you're around a corner and you suddenly require more input. The Merc steering isn't quick as well, but it does have a certain fluidity to the way it goes around corners, and that inspires a little bit more confidence. But overall, the Merc definitely cannot be called an entertaining drive. With the S80 being a front-wheel drive, we had a certain amount of expectation, but truth be told, this car is only for cruising. It loses traction way too fast and feels like a boat around corners. The suspension is too soft and it tells on the handling. But where one loses on handling, one should gain on ride, and considering that all these cars will be primarily chauffeur-driven, that is top priority. The low-speed ride off the Volvo is not too bad actually. It cushions you pretty well. The thing is that the suspension clunks through and it makes you feel like the ride is a little bit firm. It's actually not so much the ride as the noise of the suspension coming through to the back of this car. But the thing is, it's very softly sprung. So at higher speeds, you do feel a lot of vertical movement at the back, and that's not so comfortable. What's good on the Volvo's back seat though is the fact that you could probably fit 3 abreast the most comfortably here, with the central tunnel being the lowest. Just like the Volvo, the BMW bobs a fair bit over undulations, and this only increases with speed. But to its credit, the 520D does boast of an excellent low-speed ride despite the run-flat tyres. Set the Audi's air suspension to comfort and it will steamroll everything but the sharpest bumps. And it's on these where you can feel the Audi's light aluminium body shudder. In the sportier dynamic mode, the ride becomes flat and makes it much better suited to highway use. So the Audi is a bit like a chameleon, adapting to whichever mode you want. Well, the backseat's not just about the seat and the space, it's also about the ride quality, because sometimes you have to spend long times in the car, long journeys have to be comfortable. And the Merc is just that. It's soft, pliant while you're in the city, in the traffic, and yet when you're out on the highway, it's just such a flat, composed ride. You don't get tossed around at the back when you're at higher speeds, and that's what really makes it a special package. Plus, of course, you have the space, you have the width, it's a nice big back seat, it's comfortable to be in, you've got great visibility in front. If there's one grouse I have, it's this AC in the back seat. It's just not good enough. And that, in India, makes a big difference. Whilst on its own, the Merc may feel pliant enough at low speeds, in the comparison, it certainly is the firmest in city driving. But undeniably, it's still the backseat that overall makes you feel like you're in the lap of luxury. Battle of the luxury saloons, it's really all about the back seat, isn't it? Because in a country like ours, people prefer to be chauffeured around in these. Now, the BMW's back seat is the one that loses out. And that's because you feel pretty hemmed in over there. The front seat is way too large, you can't see beyond it. The seat itself is really low, the window line really high. So you feel kind of claustrophobic in that back seat, and it's not the most comfortable place to be. Plus, the run flat tires make this ride a tad too hard. Well, coming down to the Volvo, it definitely has a good spacious back seat, and of course it has that cracking price. This is the value for money car in this segment. It offers up everything that you need in a luxury car at a great price. But somehow in our country, when we're shelling out that kind of money, we don't mind shelling out a little bit more for prestige and a badge. Well, the Audi A6 and the Merc definitely offer those up. And the Merc's back seat is the most comfortable place to be. It's a flat, composed ride, it's spacious, it's airy, and on long journeys, this is the back seat that you'd really choose to have. Plus, you've got the prestige of the badge. But you have to remember, all that comes at a price. Something that manages to give you features at a good price point, plus package everything else that you need. Driving dynamics, performance, comfort, refinement, interiors, and good looks is the A6. And it still remains our pick of the segment.